I mean, she was one of these women, and it's so great. When you get older, you become an elder, and she took that very seriously about teaching to younger people. And she took me, I can't say under her wing because she didn't like me very much, but she didn't.
Jane Fonda's 6-decade career represents one of Hollywood's most complex and politically charged journeys, transforming from sex symbol to activist icon while maintaining an uncompromising artistic vision that frequently put her at odds with fellow performers. While audiences knew Fonda as the fearless actress who could command any genre from comedy to drama, industry insiders understood that beneath her radiant screen presence lay a perfectionist whose political convictions and exacting professional standards often created friction with actors she viewed as artistically complacent or morally compromised by Hollywood's commercial machinery. Fonda's antagonisms weren't born from petty jealousy, but from profound philosophical differences about the responsibility of artists in society, the integrity of performance choices, and the evolution of cinema as a vehicle for social change. Her conflicts revealed a performer who took her craft seriously even when working within Hollywood's most commercial projects, and who became genuinely frustrated with actors she perceived as wasting their platform or prioritizing career advancement over artistic authenticity. These weren't casual professional disagreements, but deeply held convictions about what separated true artists from mere entertainers. Her rare but memorable feuds exposed the tensions between different generations of Hollywood royalty, contrasting approaches to fame and responsibility, and the ongoing battle between artistic integrity and commercial success that defined American cinema throughout her remarkable career. Fonda's dislikes were as revealing as her admirations, showing an artist constantly wrestling with her own place in entertainment history while demanding excellence from those around her. 6. Katharine Ross. The tension between Jane Fonda and Katharine Ross during their brief professional intersection in the 1970s, Hollywood landscape represented a fascinating clash between two actresses who embodied completely different approaches to femininity and career management during the women's liberation era. Ross, with her ethereal beauty and preference for traditional romantic roles, seemed to represent everything Fonda was actively rebelling against as she embraced more politically charged and artistically challenging projects. Their philosophical differences became apparent during industry events, where Fonda's outspoken activism contrasted sharply with Ross's more reserved public persona and traditional approach to stardom. According to a former CAA agent quoted in Vanity Fair, Jane viewed Katharine as someone who was content to play beautiful victims rather than using her platform to challenge the system that created those limited roles for women. The relationship deteriorated when Ross declined to participate in several activist causes that Fonda championed, leading to Fonda's reported comment that some actresses prefer to remain beautiful ornaments rather than becoming powerful voices. Their mutual respect for each other's talent couldn't bridge their fundamental disagreement about the responsibility that came with fame and the role of artists in social change. A veteran Hollywood publicist told The Hollywood Reporter, Jane felt that Katharine's approach to her career was a betrayal of the opportunities that their generation had fought to create for women in Hollywood. 5. Barbra Streisand. The legendary rivalry between Jane Fonda and Barbra Streisand represented one of Hollywood's most fascinating collisions between two perfectionist actresses whose different approaches to creative control and artistic expression created decades of professional tension and mutual frustration. Both women emerged as powerhouses during the 1960s and 1970s, but their contrasting styles of wielding influence within the industry created inevitable friction whenever their paths crossed in Hollywood's competitive landscape. Streisand's reputation for micromanaging every aspect of her projects clashed with Fonda's preference for collaborative creative processes that could incorporate her political activism and social consciousness. Their philosophical differences became particularly apparent during award season campaigns, where both actresses were competing for similar recognition and industry respect. According to a former studio executive interviewed by The Hollywood Reporter, Jane felt that Barbra's approach to filmmaking was too self-indulgent and divorced from the social issues that cinema should address, while Barbra viewed Jane's political activism as a distraction from pure artistic achievement. The tension reached its peak during the 1970s when both actresses were transitioning into more serious dramatic roles and seeking greater creative control over their projects. A veteran Hollywood agent told Variety, "Both women were incredibly talented and driven, but they had completely different visions of what it meant to be a powerful woman in Hollywood." 4. Meryl Streep. The artistic tension between Jane Fonda and Meryl Streep during the 1980s represented a generational clash between two dramatically different approaches to accessing emotional truth and building compelling screen characters. Fonda, with her instinctive approach rooted in personal experience and political conviction, often found herself at odds with Streep's methodical technique and accent-heavy transformations that she viewed as intellectually impressive but emotionally distant. Their conflict embodied the broader debate within American acting about the balance between technical skill and authentic emotional expression that defined much of the decade's most serious dramatic work. According to a former acting coach quoted in American Theater magazine, Jane believed that Meryl's approach was too cerebral and removed from the raw emotional honesty that great screen acting required, while Meryl felt that Jane's instinctive method lacked the discipline and precision that sustained excellence demanded. Their philosophical differences became apparent during industry events, where both actresses were celebrated for their craft, but represented fundamentally different schools of thought about performance and preparation. Fonda's frustration with Streep centered on what she perceived as show-off technique that prioritized critical acclaim over genuine human connection. The rivalry intensified during award seasons throughout the 1980s when both actresses were competing for similar roles and recognition, with Fonda's more naturalistic performances often overshadowed by Streep's technically dazzling transformations. 3. Glenn Close. The professional animosity between Jane Fonda and Glenn Close during the late 1980s and early 1990s stemmed from their competing visions of how women should be portrayed in Hollywood's increasingly complex dramatic landscape. Close's willingness to embrace morally ambiguous and psychologically disturbed characters in films like Fatal Attraction and Dangerous Liaisons directly contradicted Fonda's belief that actresses should use their platform to present empowering images of female strength and social consciousness. Their conflict represented broader tensions within feminism about whether women's liberation meant the freedom to play any role or the responsibility to advance positive representation. According to a former studio executive quoted in Entertainment Weekly, Jane felt that Glenn's choice to play manipulative and unstable women was setting back the progress that her generation had made in creating more complex and empowering female characters. Their philosophical differences extended beyond individual role choices to encompass their entire approach to career management and public image, with Close embracing the artistic freedom to explore darkness while Fonda maintained her commitment to socially conscious storytelling. The tension became particularly apparent during industry events where both actresses were celebrated for their dramatic range, but represented opposing views about women's responsibility in entertainment. The conflict intensified when Close's performances began receiving critical acclaim and award recognition for roles that Fonda considered harmful to women's representation in popular culture. 2. Sally Field. The bitter rivalry between Jane Fonda and Sally Field reached its climax during the production of Steel Magnolias, where their fundamentally different approaches to both acting and aging in Hollywood created an explosive behind-the-scenes conflict that nearly derailed the entire project. Field's earnest, method-driven approach to her role as the grieving mother clashed dramatically with Fonda's more instinctive style and her frustration with what she perceived as Field's tendency toward emotional manipulation rather than authentic expression. Their conflict was compounded by competing visions of how women should navigate the challenges of middle-aged roles in an industry that often discarded actresses once they passed their romantic leading lady phase. According to a former Steel Magnolias crew member interviewed by People magazine, Jane felt that Sally was overplaying the emotional scenes and turning what should have been genuine moments into theatrical displays that served her own ego rather than the story. Their tension extended beyond individual scene work to encompass their entire philosophy about women's roles in ensemble pieces, with Fonda believing in collaborative storytelling, while Field seemed determined to claim the film's most dramatically powerful moments for herself. The rivalry exploded during post-production when Field's performance received overwhelming critical praise and award recognition, leading to Fonda's reported comment that some people mistake emotional manipulation for genuine acting. A veteran Hollywood agent told The Hollywood Reporter, Jane believed that Sally's approach to the role was calculated to generate sympathy and awards rather than serving the authentic story of women supporting each other through tragedy. 1. Shirley MacLaine. The legendary feud between Jane Fonda and Shirley MacLaine represents Hollywood's most enduring and philosophically complex rivalry, spanning decades of professional competition, personal animosity, and fundamentally irreconcilable differences about spirituality, politics, and the purpose of artistic expression. MacLaine's embrace of New Age spirituality and cosmic consciousness directly contradicted Fonda's grounded political activism and practical approach to social change, creating a philosophical divide that infected every aspect of their professional relationship. Their conflict embodied the broader cultural tensions of the 1970s and 1980s between traditional political engagement and alternative spiritual movements. According to a former agent who represented both actresses, quoted in Vanity Fair, Jane viewed Shirley's spiritual beliefs as self-indulgent escapism that distracted from real-world problems, while Shirley felt that Jane's political activism was narrow-minded and spiritually bankrupt. Their rivalry intensified during the filming of multiple projects where both actresses were competing for similar roles and recognition, with their contrasting worldviews creating constant tension on set. MacLaine's tendency to discuss past lives and spiritual experiences clashed dramatically with Fonda's preference for discussing concrete social issues and political strategies. The feud reached its peak during the 1980s when both actresses were transitioning into more mature roles and seeking to define their legacies within Hollywood history. A veteran film critic told the New York Times, their conflict represented the ultimate clash between earthly engagement and cosmic detachment, between political activism and spiritual seeking. Jane Fonda's conflicts reveal an artist who never separated her personal convictions from her professional choices, proving that the most enduring careers often emerge from unwavering commitment to authentic expression over comfortable conformity. Subscribe for more exclusive Hollywood revelations.